Today we will be showing you how to install standing seam roofing on a traditional style structure. You can start with the drip edge assembly. Start by locating the drip edge and aligning it with the edge of the fascia board. Cut the drip edge on an angle at the end of the roof and align it with the corner. Install the drip edge to the roof using 3/4 inch stainless steel screws approximately every 16 inches. Depending on the size of your pavilion, there will be more than one piece. Measure the space from the end of the drip edge to the edge of the roof. Then, using that measurement, mark a line on another piece and cut at that line. Open the hemmed part slightly to overlap the previous piece. Align the two pieces and attach to the roof using 3/4 inch stainless steel screws like you did before. Measure and mark at 1/4 inch from the edge of the drip edge to know where to snap a line. Snap a line all the way across the drip edge at the bottom in order to keep the metal straight and properly squared on the roof. Repeat these steps for all 4 sides of the structure. You can now move on to the standing seam assembly. Locate all of the pre-cut standing seam metal pieces and the hardware that comes with it. Start by attaching the small corner metal roofing piece and align it with the line you made on the drip edge. Attach it to the roof using 3/4 inch stainless steel screws. Locate and place the metal clip over the rib and fasten to the tongue and groove with 2 3/4 inch stainless steel screws. Place the second metal roofing piece over the rib of the first piece. You may need to use a rubber hammer to tap the second piece firmly into place. Fasten the metal to the tongue and groove using 1 3/4 inch stainless steel screw. Make sure to use 2 brackets, one at the top as shown and one at the bottom as shown. Continue installing the metal plates all the way across the roof. Space the metal clips no more than 24 inches apart. Install the rest of the metal plates on all of the remaining sides of the pavilion as shown in the previous steps. You can now move on to the Z-closure, hip cap, and ridge cap assembly. Locate the angled Z-closure, the straight cut Z-closure, the hip caps, and the ridge cap. Measure the width of the hip capping and make sure the Z-closure is installed so that it doesn't protrude past the hip capping. Install the angled Z-closure along the hip and in between the rib of each metal panel and fasten it to the roof. Continue on up the hip and repeat this process for all 4 hips. Install the Z-closure on both sides of the roof all the way across like you did with the hips. Locate the hip cap and place it over the Z-closure on the hip. Slide the hip cap over the corner of the metal roof and ensure the hip cap is firmly against the drip edge. Using a 1/8 inch drill bit, drill through the hip cap and into the Z-closure below. Attach the hip cap using rivets through the pre-drilled holes. Continue this process up the roof and drill and install rivets in between each rib on both sides of the hip cap. Mark and cut the first piece of capping at the center of the opposite hip and the ridge. Using a tin snips, cut the extra hip cap at the top of the pavilion. Install the hip cap on the remaining sides as shown in the previous steps. Mark and cut the second piece of the hip capping to look aesthetically pleasing while also keeping it watertight. Attach the 2 pieces with rivets as shown. Cut the ridge capping to fit over the hips as shown. Attach with rivets as needed to ensure it is secure. Using a 1/8 inch drill bit, drill through the ridge cap and into the Z-closure below on both sides in between each rib. Attach the ridge cap with rivets through the holes you made.